Welcome to a very special video today where it's going to be sort of a hybrid video. Normally I would play on Twitch and then do a video that's a little bit more informative, but I've really been itching to play and get past the trade deadline in my Guardian save, but it's late here and I don't know that I'm going to last 2 or 3 hours for a stream, so I figured I'd try and get through the trade deadline if possible and hopefully improve the team and post it to YouTube. So considered a crossover of sorts. So hopefully if you've been in the Twitch stream, and you'll probably get the nice calming music, and hopefully we'll get some appearances by assistant GM Coda. So if he appears, then we'll introduce him then. But until then, he's a mystery. Alright, so if you haven't watched on Twitch at all, where we're at is July 18th of the first year of a save. We are just barely behind the Twins, even in the loss column. 1 game behind overall. Short version is, our expectations are that we should have a winning record. We should get an upgrade at first base, which, as you can tell, hasn't gone according to plan, and then eventually reach the playoffs in a few years. But hopefully we've got some time before that, before the Dolan ownership interferes. So so we are now at the All-Star break. We just had a couple of players selected, and we just went through the draft in the last stream as well, so we're seeing some of those offers come in. Let's see, do we have any interesting rising stars? Looks like we do. Reliever, our top catcher prospect, all fun stuff, but that's not the topic for today. Today, after we delete all these messages, since that's no longer an individual button, we want to get through and upgrade the team a little bit more. So where we're at right now, we have Joey Cantillo is our ace currently, with Sean Manaea falling closely behind. You can see according to the stats, which seem to be bugged there. Cantillo has done really well. Manaea, we just got him in a trade and Taylor Rogers, mostly salary dumping Michael Conforto, giving up 2 sort of fringe prospects. Both he and Rogers are going to be free agents, so that's definitely we're trying to enhance our chances this year. I'll let you look over the rest. You may be wondering where Shane Bieber is. He is on the IL, of course, with some elbow inflammation. We hope to get him back beginning of August. Tristan Mckenzie was looking phenomenal for all 2 games before he tore his shoulder up. And then the new priority that just happened at the end of the stream was Miles Straw strained an abdominal muscle and is out for 5 to 6 weeks. So we promoted Oscar Mercado, who has not done all that well this year, temporarily. So our big areas to improve are potentially first base, although we just made a trade for Yuli Gurriel, but of course he's not a long-term option, being a free agent and also being 38 years old. Previous to that, we had Franmil Reyes holding down the spot. We taught him the position and not really hitting all that well, or fielding all that well for that matter either. So very much a replacement first baseman for us, which is why we got Gurriel. Jose Ramirez is the front runner for MVP currently, so we're very thankful for that. He is lifting us up to respectability and even into the playoff chase. So besides that, we're just looking for upgrade opportunities. Being the Cleveland Guardians, we don't have a lot of money, although we have managed to free up $11 million, almost $12 million in salary for the remainder of this year. And in addition to that, I'm actually going to do a quick bump on my ticket price since we're selling out games. That's another video for another time. But right now, we're going to look, I'm going to sim ahead a day and then look at the trading block. And if you haven't spent too much time in OOTP, you should know that the trading block, especially around this time, is one of the best ways to get players cheaply. Not every player on here is going to be given away, but there's a lot of quality players you can get for a much lower cost, especially both in salary as well as in assets you have to give back. So definitely take a look at the trading block when you get a chance. For us, if we're looking to win now, JD Martinez is, even if he's not doing great, he is a better bat than pretty much anybody other than Ramirez on the team. You know, it looks like he's probably declined a little bit this year, as you might expect, but he would definitely make sense as a DH candidate. Right now, I guess I should also mention, we currently have Gurriel and Reyes basically trading off at the first base and DH positions, but very easy to see one of them going. We also have Ahmed Rosario, who has not impressed. You know, he hasn't hit for much power at all. His defense has been okay, but definitely would have hoped for more given his ability and being asked primarily to play left field. So left field is a good spot. Also gives us some salary to shave. Don't necessarily want to play Reyes there. He's a pretty poor fielder in the outfield. Not much better at first, even after 3 months of training there. So first base, left field, DH, all give us some opportunities to upgrade if we can find the right player. As well, if we can get a shortstop who we feel a little more comfortable with, we might take a look at that. Internally, the best option at all of those positions, long-term, probably Josh Naylor. Looks to be average, above average, not amazing, not terrible at anything. Definitely a guy who you try to upgrade on if you can, but he's also got a couple of years of team control, so if he doesn't work out for us and we don't find a spot for him, it might be good to move on in a trade. So first player I wanted to look at as far as stopgap in center field would be Kane, but it doesn't make sense. Manea, we have a lot of salary retained on him. Kane, yeah, we'd have to take on a ton of salary. As assistant GM Coda also barks in the background, letting us know he doesn't approve of the move. So doesn't make sense for a rental or someone who might be a bench bat or depth in a playoff series. Herrera, maybe, but not a great fielder. Man, he plays for the Phillies. I think that kind of speaks for itself. Nobody else. I mean, Kiermaier, he's a better fielder. Team option with no buyout next year. But what do the Rays want? So this is something I've noticed in general, and I'll probably talk more about it in another video, is that with the trading difficulty turned up a bit, like I have it one tick from the hardest and have favorite prospects one tick below the highest there. What I've noticed is it seems a lot more realistic at these settings because the type of players they're looking for, I would say in prior versions, you'd see a lot of 35 rated prospects. They're mostly looking at 45, 50 guys who are able to, be depth players now. Like, Lavastida could definitely play catcher or be a backup catcher for a lot of teams. But you see those sorts of deals and think, it seems a lot more reasonable to have that for a rental versus, just some random 20 grade prospect or 30 grade prospect like that. So definitely a little more impressed with this year's trade AI. An internal candidate for the corner spots and DH spot would be Nolan Jones. However, don't love the contact rating. As you can see, struggling a little bit, hitting 241 in AAA. And granted, the secondary stats certainly help, but been very up and down this year. You can see 341 followed by 146. Lots of strikeouts. Don't have a ton of trust in him. However, he is listed as a captain, so maybe he gets called up for some depth or something. I'm not 100% sure if I mean, it's a bit of a crapshoot in my opinion, but keeping an eye on him. Going back to the trading block, any other interesting... Let's see, I don't think there's any other center fielders who it really makes sense to bring in for a few weeks. I had shortlisted Michael Taylor, but I think, well, that's better than I remember. They still want some pretty decent prospects. Granted, he's not actually a rental, which means he's worth a little bit more, but still not loving that. Xavier Curry could be an interesting one to trade for him. Don't love the low movement, but he's also young enough where that could improve. I don't know if... Doesn't seem like there's a lot of left for Ahmed Rosario. However, I guess one thing that would make sense to test out is this new trade setting. So I wonder if I could get some prospects for him. Help clear off some salary from especially this year, but next year he's due for another year of arbitration, so he'd be up to probably 6 or 8 million even at his current stats, just based off of the normal way it increases. So looking... Oh, okay. Interesting. So we're getting some pretty solid offers. Like Andrew Vaughn here. Definitely, although he's struggled a bit this year in the majors. Definitely an interesting prospect. However, I don't know that we want to give up Lavacita. My plan right now is to have him come up next year when we have both of our current catchers, Austin Hedges and Tucker Barnhart, on reaching free agency. So it's unlikely that we'll be able to keep both. Barnhart wants another $8 million a year. Hedges, I think, wants about the same as he's making now, $4 to $5 million a year. Yeah, don't know that I want to give that to either one. So let's see, other prospects: Anderson Espinoza, Kobe Allard, Yanni Hernandez, another interesting one with the eye. Not a whole lot beyond that, unfortunately. I'll say these a little underwhelming. Eli Wilson, very similar to Lavacita, and then having to give up more. Doesn't make a ton of sense. Garrett Mitchell, fun prospect in perfect team last year. Johan Oviedo, good player, but place is pretty much off limits from my perspective. He's been a literal all-star as well as a major, really a major contributor for us as a stopper. So Esteban Florial is interesting. I wonder if they would give... No, not interested in that. They have very high opinion of him, and mine is not as high. So, like I said, the trade AI I think is maybe a little more realistic in this year's version, at least at the higher settings. Can also be a little frustrating at times whenever you're looking for the hopefully easier deals. Isaac Paredes looks very interesting here, and are a little more receptive to trading him. I don't know that it's worth it for us still. Like, I think Hankins is probably still a little more valuable than him at this point. However, I will add him to a target list. I think he might be someone worth revisiting in a year or so. Any other interesting offers? Taglia, fun one. I don't think it makes a lot of sense unless they're willing to take a lot less for him. Yeah, I haven't seen anything makes me super excited. Although one thing I guess I should be on the lookout for is that we do have Bo Naylor, who looks like a pretty good hitter. At least could be in another year or so, for part of the catcher platoon. So maybe we could give up Lavastida. Don't know if it still makes sense or if it makes more sense to platoon them, but we'll see. Nice to see Josiah Gray included and a good reliever, but not a trade that I'm happy to do with Clays. So let me see if I don't allow any included prospects. Oh, okay. So this is definitely the sampler platter in exchange for an MLB player. Not loving that deal. Can I do another? Okay, so these trade limits are not, so they don't impact each other, which is nice. Probably still impacting Rosario's morale quite a bit, but that's okay if we're looking to trade him very soon. You can, yeah, angry at transactions, but listed as normal. We can deal with that. So any other suitor? Interesting. Not a starter anymore, unfortunately, based off of those ratings. Evan White, who... Oh, and that's it. That's a little disappointing. Lucius Fox. Not loving this as much as I would have hoped. Interesting. Hobie Milner looks really good in this. For some reason, he just got demoted, despite being a very good reliever for them. Not sure why. Maybe that's something we could build into a package. I don't know who else the Brewers have who we're in love with, but it's worth a start. I don't know whether I like that my assistant GM in here likes the trade. Any interesting? Urias is one who I've always really enjoyed in OOTP. Never seems to turn out as good in real life. So I'm sure those will diverge a little soon. And they have a very high regard for him. How unfortunate. Let's see. Lorenzo Kane. Oh, that's interesting. So Kane, I mean, still has good fielding ability, still has good hitting ability, even if it hasn't shown. Wants to be in the starting lineup. I mean, this is the last year on his deal. If we could get them to retain a bunch of it and still only have to give up a little prospect-wise, that would be very appealing. 80%. So what, yeah, I'm looking for is, as I move this down, I'm looking for them to start accepting lower grade potential prospects. And I may even do this because this guy, I mean, all else being equal, you like having guys with some potential, but he's, I mean, looking at him as a starter, like, all else being equal, I like having younger guys who have chance for more, you know, more talent change randomness, the potential to get really good. But not everyone's going to hit, and he's a good, I think he's a low likelihood of hitting anyway, even if he got a boost to his potential rating at 22, having 30 movement. I don't think that's all that great. He'd also probably need a little bit more help for his third pitch. So I feel pretty comfortable throwing him in to reduce the amount of salary that we're taking on. I mean, at this point in the season too, giving up Rosario, we're only adding about $1 million, and when we've got $11 million to work with, I mean, we could keep, putting in some of these low-level prospects to save an extra, couple $100,000, but I don't know that that's quite worth it. So with this, we end up, Milner doesn't have great stamina, although he's averaging about an inning and a half per, so that's good to know there. So with Kane, we get a boost to our bench probably in the long run once Straw comes back, or alternatively we could put Straw at one of the corner positions. His bat, although he doesn't have much experience there, neither does Kane, so that makes it a little bit more unlikely, but would be another way to get an excellent fielder and an excellent bat. Gives us more pinch hitting options, some pinch running options. I think this is, I actually agree with my assistant GM in game, which is a real rarity. I think this does make us better. The only thing I will look to see is, does Milwaukee have a relief prospect who they just love to throw in for free? This is one of the all-time, this is classic OOTP trade logic. At the very end, once you get a deal that they like, just ask, okay, by the way, can I get one more prospect? Definitely start with the bullpen. That's who they usually like the least. But even you can find like this guy, they have to think about it, but I could probably throw in a very low rated reliever like this or something and get that across if I really wanted to, or take a little less salary. Like, let's see, 55 doesn't do it? Okay. So probably 65, but, or probably have to go down like 40%, but I don't think it's quite worth it. My prospect hoarding wants me to, but I think this is more fair anyway, and another bullpen arm. Can never have enough of those. See, even I was hoping it was durable, but close enough. All right, there we go. And with 3 pitches, could be an opener, or with a little stamina, could be a starter. So I think this works out really well for us. And we get a nice boost of fan interest, which is awesome. Oh, and very, very exciting for us, our third or second round draft pick, a English pitcher just signed with us, and he could be a two-way player, so may or may not be the player I'm most excited about in all of this. All right, going to advance another day, see what happens. Any messages? All right, just got our first round draft pick signed. And oh, look at the All-Star game. Anything of interest to us? Ramirez didn't hit a home run, but got 2 hits and a run and an RBI. Absolutely will take that. Coda approves. Clace, great inning. Sandlin, our other reliever here, great inning. And we'll take that. All 3 All-Stars played. Gotta love it. All right. So we've got 2 more days before we get to back to playing baseball. I'm going to adjust my lineup now. For relievers, I'm very curious because we had we disabled the 3-batter minimum, and so we made a trade for Jose Alvarez earlier, I think with some salary. Oh, no salary retained, but Or I guess we didn't make a trade for him. We claimed him off waivers. Curious if there's anybody who wants him, because he would be an obvious choice to be replaced by Milner. I don't know if there's any takers. Okay, there are. I don't know that there's any takers that we're interested in, but yes, 100%, no questions asked. Luis Guillorme, OOTP legend, no longer the absolute superstar at shortstop that he was in previous games, but still a very, very good reliever. Or I'm sorry, very, very good infielder, very good backup at 3 positions, decent enough hitter, 3 more years of team control. On his last option year, but no big deal. We can make that work somehow, even if it's just this year. Though he has been optioned 3 times already, so. But we save a little bit of money, clear up a roster spot, and get one of my favorite OOTP players. So, Milner comes in, middle relief, building quite a good bullpen again. We had the number 1 bullpen prior to the All-Star break, looking to improve that further. Lineup. Kane comes on board. That allows us to probably lead off with Kane. Could use a better number 3 hitter, that's for sure. And now we don't have a left fielder at the moment. Yeah, Quan unfortunately has not had the blistering start that he did in real life. Something like that. And go with put Mercado in left. So yeah, so left field looks like the spot to upgrade, unless we want to put Naylor there. Looking at the minor leagues, or Jones. Or I forgot that we had traded for Keyboom. What happened there? Oh yeah, we traded somebody for Edmundo Sosa, and then immediately traded Sosa for Keyboom. So, got another power bat option. Power-ish bat, I guess. But I'm not entirely sold on that. Any other hitters? Benintendi was one we looked at. Pollock. Not thriving in Chicago this year. Sorting by contact doesn't seem as much. There is Gene Segura, which is a very interesting case in that he's hitting well, and then somehow Philadelphia wants to get rid of him. Doesn't make a ton of sense. But I don't think they're going to give him away either. We looked at Martinez. Nick Ahmed. Maybe next season we'll trade for him. But I think we'd probably have to make a trade for somebody outside of the trade block in order to really improve the team, because I don't see a ton of talent here. I mean, maybe Martinez, but I just worry about what that means defensively, having to move Reyes to an outfield corner, which is not his forte. Andrew Mccutchen. He walks. He's a captain, but not a good fielder at this point. Tommy Pham. Maybe. Average-ish fielder, and he walks. basically looks like we've got a mutual option there. And we could get him for free. Certainly an option. He hasn't done all that great either. One other thing we could look at is who's doing poorly as a team? Miami. Oh, they had a prospect who made it to the list of players of prospects to be hot prospects to look at, I think was the title of the video or something like that. It's been a long day. Brian De La Cruz, buried in the minors. Didn't hit all that well to start with. He's angry at them for not letting him play. And we could get him for a decent prospect. I was looking at Bracho. He's sort of like a younger version of Nolan Jones, very similar in their ratings profiles. He's doing pretty much the same thing as Jones in that he walks, hits for power, and strikes out a whole bunch, except he's doing it at a lower level. De La Cruz. Yeah. Looks like he has declined a bit, or maybe just maybe my scout dialed it in a bit more. This is one where he'd have to learn to play left, but he's at 35 already, so he's not starting from complete scratch. I think this is one we try and do. Now, how we get there. Is there somebody? I think it may make sense just to do Bracho. So the other way you can look for this is try and find a player who is almost good enough for this trade. Let's say Ghost. Fortunately didn't move the needle at all, but you ideally want to find someone who's just not quite good enough to make this work, and then see who else is required to make this work now, and then you remove the first player and then see who fills in the gaps in between. So like Milner works here, so Milner almost gets it done. Reynel Delgado, not someone who I am particularly attached to. So I add him, remove Milner. Has to think about that, but already I have more options for players that Miami's interested in. Is it enough to get us across the line to a deal, though? Not sure. Really comes down to some of these relievers or other fringy sorts of players. Josh Wolfe, if he had 2 pitches, probably would trade him, but with 3, no. Richard Palacios, very tempted to do that. Palacios has some potential as a hitter. He's 25, not happy to be in AAA, not hitting well in AAA, not a great fielder at second. He may have honestly been in the list initially, but let's see. I just overlooked it. Okay, so they're still considering. I'm willing to do this with Delgado and Palacios, especially if... Is there anybody else we can add in to expand this? Cabrera, probably not. They probably value him way too highly. Yeah, definitely not worth it. But is there anyone else who they just don't think that highly of, who might be interesting to us? Peyton Henry. Never have too many catchers in the minors. They want more time. I don't want to give you more time. Oh, Otto Lopez. I think he nearly made the list. But I don't want to give up much for him. I'm going to try one more. Hardly ever works for starters. Yeah. Really, you have to find relievers or position players who they're not fond of. And that'll usually be it. Meh. Okay, Mike. Meh. I think that's a little dramatic for this. I don't have a firm opinion, so let's do it. So Brian De La Cruz actually comes in and could be our upgrade. And I guess one thing we didn't consider before with Palacios is now he's behind Guillorme and Jimenez and Miller and just lots of guys like him, plus prospects like Tyler Freeman. So trading from a position of organizational abundance. All right, so that means we have to find somebody to demote or package some players up. So now I'm going to go for one big hurrah. And then I was hoping to get to the trade deadline. I don't know that we'll even make it back from the All-Star break, but it's a good way of... We got some work done, which is nice. Chicago. So they should be much better. Is there anybody who is unhappy? Looks like they've got a few. Moncada with his new contract, but third, doesn't make sense to pay that sort of money. Ideally, we'd want Robert, but Robert is way too good. Any other teams down here struggling who have a player that might be up for trade? Number one hitting target. Okay, so a lot of teams like Espino, but don't think that's happening. Jose Ramirez, definitely not happening. But let's see if we could piece something together that they'd be interested in. Starting with Franmil Reyes. Hasn't moved the needle just yet. Josh Naylor. Hasn't moved the needle. I'm just trying to find players who move the needle at all. Guillorme, not at all. How about Owen Miller? Still, none of this has quite... I mean, can't even sugarcoat it. It hasn't made a difference at all. So, go back. Quantrill. Okay, that's progress at least. Jimenez, Morris. None of these guys we're interested in giving up. Tanner Burns, maybe. But how much control does Winker have? So he has one more year after this. Very reasonable contract. Just a great hitter in this year's game. Although, can you see it here? You can't. He's actually struggled. But the ratings are that he should be doing way better. He just needs a change of scenery and trade the Pacific Northwest for the Midwest. So, we're looking at this. They want a pitcher. AAA. Xavier Curry. Okay, that got a lot closer. It won't take much more. And looking at, a lot more options opened up. So for a year and a half of Jesse Winker, is there anybody? I don't think it makes a difference with any of the sort of depth players we have. Like, they would want Pender. Doesn't move the needle. Freeman doesn't move the needle for them. Interesting. Nolan Jones. Interesting. Doesn't do it. Bracho does more. Looks like. Yeah. Interesting. What do I think? He just turned 21. He can play. I mean, really, he's only going to be a first baseman. It's a close one. Got Aaron Davenport. Once again, you'd always rather have guys like him in your minor league system, but he's not someone who I'm going to miss so much that it should slow down this trade. Looking at Noel, who just turned 21, more contact, better fielder at first. Or very similar fielders, I suppose. Yeah, I think Bracho. I don't think he's that hard to replace as a first base prospect. Now I'm going to take Curry out. See, is there anybody who I'd rather give up than Curry? Like Hankins. Oh, I don't know. That's a tough one. Valera. I think he's actually developed pretty nicely. Curry, that movement. I mean, he's doing all right in AAA, but also got to give up something. Got to give to get, unfortunately. Unless I want to reduce the trade settings, which not going to happen. That just takes all the fun out. Despite the great name, I think Curry is the guy. And then Davenport, I think he's pretty much required at this point, unless we want to give up something else. Vicente? Interesting. When was the last time we got a scouting report on him? A month ago. So, just by pure talent levels and pure potential. He hasn't started, though. So what happened earlier in this save is Nathan Ochre was very similar. I had 20 current ability, 20 overall, 25 potential, and multiple teams started asking for him in trades and make this work now. Then thought it was a little suspicious, so we requested our scout to review him. And lo and behold, he had gained a third pitch and went from potential depth bullpen option to a potential starter. And so I'm a little hesitant, since we haven't scouted him in a month, to see if Adoree Vicente has gained a pitch. Now, with that said, even if he's gained a pitch, unless he's gotten some other control or some other pitching movement benefit, I think it makes more sense to give up on him versus someone who has just a bit more talent. I mean, Davenport, I don't know. That movement scares me. So maybe it is Davenport, and we just keep our other starter until we find out if he's actually as bad as he currently seems. So then there's Winker. I'm just going to do that same check. I mean, Hancock's a starter, so they're definitely not going to do that. But someone like Dashwood, out of options, probably wouldn't even make that much sense for us. Final one, Arias, 3 pitches, but very low stamina. They'll do it. Not awesome, but can't. Oh, I guess we do. He is on a major league contract, so maybe we don't do that. All right, we'll just do this for Winker. We're spending a quarter of our remaining budget money, but we're getting, I think, one of the best hitters in the game to start with, even if it looks like he's maybe declined a little bit. but he can play left field, won't embarrass us there. At least I think he'll be better than Reyes. Can DH happily. Don't have to platoon him. He looks pretty strong there. Feel very happy about this, and we did it all in 2 game days, and the fan increase is significant. So yeah, we're up into the 70s for fan interest, which has to be a Cleveland record, or maybe second since 2015, 2016. But yeah, that will help us quite a bit. So then one last update to the roster. Reyes, I think we may put him in a multiplayer deal if we can swing it, or use him. Oh, Pinder. Refuses to be demoted. Really enjoy having him around as utility player, but I guess we could demote Naylor because he's not going to play that much at the moment, and he's hit well, but he's only played a little bit in AAA. So sorry, Josh. Makes room for Winker, Guillorme, De La Cruz. I mean, De La Cruz was looking like the corner bat, but honestly, he's probably more of a future player for us at this point, with Gurriel coming as a free agent, and Winker we've only got for the next, through next year, unless we get him on a very cheap extension. But he is not in the mood for that, even though he just arrived. So yeah, I think we got a good, solid start to the trading season. So next Twitch stream we'll continue with that, and hopefully everybody on YouTube enjoyed this little interlude from some of the more educational content. And if you enjoyed this, check out the Twitch stream. Still putting together a schedule right now, but hopefully find something consistent that works. And yeah, in the meantime, happy simming.